Miss Kay is an exact replica of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Kind, gentle-spirited, which is of great worth in God's sight. You're her daughters if you do what's right and don't give way to fear. So that's Miss Kay. She's like Sarah. She treats me like a king. She literally treats me as her master. And I don't force her to. She's just that kind of woman. Good woman.
I'm glad you didn't say I was a Proverbs 31 woman, because I sure don't like getting up early.
That's right, that early deal, that knocked you out on that.
Do you mind if I ask you a question? Where did your faith start? When did you become Christian?
All right, it has a twofold part to that.
Oh, there we go.
It's not long. No, I really, I always tell it, well, because I talk to women's groups, and I always tell them that I was raised up in a little Baptist church, but, and as a very young girl, I made a profession, but it wasn't, for the real reason. It was only because everybody else was doing it. But where I got a lot of my faith was from my grandmother, who I lived with probably as much or more than my parents. She's a very strong Christian lady. And she would teach me all the time stuff, but she would make it real easy, not just, all biblical and everything, just teach me stuff. So I told somebody, I said, I think I operated on her faith for a long time that kept me understanding about, for 10 years, that he was, living like a heathen, that he was. What kept me there? What made me stay with him? And it was those words my grandmother said, which was, one man, one wife, for one life. And they never left me. And she would say things like, your marriage, you're going to have to fight for your marriage, which I thought was the stupidest thing. I didn't understand what she was talking about, but I understood it later. And after 10 years, I wondered how long you were supposed to fight for your marriage. But then, in the book or in something that you'll hear about the whole thing, you'll see that he, I come to my faith because, he drove me in the ground. That's what he did. But whatever it was, I came to God myself, and I developed and found my own faith. But I believe that I didn't get this much trouble, and I stayed with a lot of good morals because of my grandmother's faith. I was operating on it or whatever until I found my own faith. But when I really got to my knees and, became where I saw that I couldn't save my marriage myself, and that you lose your hope, and that's what happened, and that's when I came to Christ and realized I had to have my own faith.
And now Kay has the now infamous words. She says, Phil, I've been poor with you,
I need you.
And you were mean. She said, and now you're kind, and I'm rich with you. She said, rich is a lot better.
Now let me explain that.
Thank you. You'll see this somewhere.
And tell them about the note on your bed.
Yeah, Kay come there one night. I was sitting there, I was asleep, and I thought somebody was looking at me. I looked up, and Miss Kay was standing over me, and I said, I was looking. She said, Phil, do you love me? I said, yeah. She said, write it down. She's standing over my bed, she said, write it down. I said, okay. I said, yeah, I'll get around with that. I'll write it down. So I went on to sleep. Well, the next morning I got up, got fixed me a cup of coffee, and went around my old chair there, what's the weather? I started to sit on the chair, there was a piece of paper, and a felt pen there. I said, look, I'm just going to hold me to this. So I got the piece of paper out, I said, okay, here we go. Okay. I said, I love you. I always have. I always will. Phil. Now that's been many, many years ago, but she taped that to the bedboard right above her head. So every time I get in the bed, I look over and I see that note,
So that helps to remind you of what you wrote yourself, right?
And that's when I realized that women are very strange creatures.
explain the
You get the rest of
getting
that story. So.
let me
It's a
explain the
book.
getting rich part. I mean, being with him rich. When he was mean and we were poor, I had to manage him. And he wasn't really worried about whether anything got paid or whatever happened. So that's why it's much easier being this way now. Because, you know, he's good and everything like that, but I don't have to worry about, you know, making things work and debt and somebody coming after us and shutting off something and all that.
Why do you always call me then?
What?
Why do you always call me then?
Because I have my own bank.
And it's fun to spend money.
It's the Bank of Willie.
The resurrection of the dead pretty well trumps the momentary pleasure of sin. The long-legged chicks, they show up, you say, is it more powerful than the resurrection of the dead? Not even in the race. My little sex machine is sitting right there. Hey, that's all I need. It's like banana pudding. I can have it every night if I want to. So it's all mine, right over there, you see. So you say, no, I take it out on her. So, because I got the resurrection of the dead here. Some long-legged chick rolls in, you say, no. I've got all I need. And I usually tell them, you know, when you get my age, you know, they said, them long-legged chicks from Hollywood are going to get you, Robertson. I said, listen, at my age, you're just trying to get it over with without getting hurt. You know what I'm saying? I'm not straining a muscle or something. So, no, they don't get to do it me again. Put that in your bag.
Put that in your
Yeah,
pocket.
What you think about it, it is a true statement. It is a true statement. People say, oh, yeah, they're going to do it again. I say, no, I don't think so. I mean, you just think about the resurrection of dead, stack it up with anything on this earth. All your sins removed, your dead cold body being energized and stand back up on the earth. I'm like, and now I think that's going to hold me in place right there. What could you even compare to that? Inherit everything God has, co-heirs with Christ. We inherit what God has. He's our Father. We inherit what He has. You say, well, how much does He have? You say, pretty well has it all. I'm like, I'm all in with that. So,
I know it's a big shock to y'all to think that Dad was always real open talking about sex with us in our home, by the way, growing up. Just so you know. You watch the show, I've always thought it was ironic because you got all these young, attractive people on the show, but it's Mom and Dad that usually have the discussions about sexuality, either with each other or in teaching moments to the grandkids. And again, I don't think anybody just sat down, that was scripted that way, this way we want to do this, but it came out naturally because Dad's been telling us that our whole lives. And by the way, he said far more outrageous things at church than he does on the show. So just so you know. And somebody said, man, Bill's talking about sex. I said, hey, if I could have muted him, I'd have done it 20 years ago where I worked. He's doing his thing. That's what he does.
I said fame and fortune was frivolous to me is because we were raised really poor. I mean, my brothers, we had one bed, one room, but nobody told us we were poor, and you know, I was just as happy. We were in the outdoors. Every day was an adventure to me, and the reason is because we love, you know, who we're with our family, love to, and that's really the reason we love to hunt. It's not so much about what we get to eat or, you know, how many ducks we shoot. It's about who we're with. And so if you're happy in that situation and you realize what true happiness is, which to me is God, people, and then whatever else, number 3. With me, it's ducks. I realized, you know, what are you going to buy? You can't buy that. I was just as happy when we had nothing. So,
and when we met, when we were teenagers, I noticed that about their family. My parents my dad's a preacher and my mom was a school teacher at a Christian school, so we didn't have hardly anything either. And so what attracted us to each other was what we saw in each other in our faith. And we dated very young, got married very young, and that's basically been our own motto. We've been very happy for 22 years before the money started coming in. So we have our core values as a family, and we've kept them, and that's our number one priority is making sure that our kids know that, so they also will have the same values, no matter what circumstances come your way. If God is your solid foundation, good or bad, you're going to be happy. You're going to be joyous if you're in Him, and that's what we stand on.
Well, just to prove her point that it was a godly thing, we were both virgins when we got married until our wedding night, and we decided to do it God's way, and we basically had a godly agreement that we would help each other get to heaven. And so, a lot of people just think that that's unreasonable or preposterous. I'm like, no, God's way, that's strange. I'm like, if everybody chose to do it God's way, the world would be a lot better off. You think about all the guilt,
and what an
all the
influence that we can have on our
diseases.
children because of that testimony. Our oldest son, Reed, has been dating a great girl for over a year and a half, and they also have the same commitment. So it's just such a wonderful, joyous time for as a parent to be able to see that and the commitment that they have as children and wanting to do that also.
But it's a great testimony because we're like, look, we do this not because we're representing some organization. We do it because we trust in God and we believe His way is the better way in all things in life. So that's why when you ask me about the fame and fortune, I'm like, I'm going to use whatever God blesses me with as a platform to tell the world, look, God is for you. He proved it through sending Jesus down here to die for us and be resurrected. And for us, that gives us second chances and it gives us hope.
Yeah.
And so we spread that message everywhere. We say, look, if God can use us, He can use anybody. So that's our story, and we're sticking to it.
Cool thing I did one time, I baptized a guy who will be in the Hall of Fame, very famous guy. So much money, it just got silly how much money this guy's got. And God put me in his house, and we were sitting up late one night, and I hadn't said anything to him. We've hung out, and he said, how do I be a Christian? He said, I've seen Christians, and honestly, I don't really like any of them. I don't like the way it comes across. He said, now what you're doing, I could do that. This is before Duck Dynasty.